It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Noreen Lee. Hi, Noreen. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's exciting.
So looking over your bio, you started in radio in San Francisco?
Yes, I actually, I graduated from University of Maryland with a journalism broadcasting degree and moved out to San Francisco shortly afterwards. And, I went to some of the stations, TV stations, and wanted to get into news because at the time I was really, really excited and just wanting to make an impact in news by reporting just good news, positive news. And I learned very quickly that that's not often the case. And oftentimes it's the bad news that they're looking for and that raises the ratings. And so I was kind of turned off by that. So I decided to go look into radio. And I worked at a radio station in San Francisco, working with their marketing team. And it was a light rock, less talk kind of a radio station. And they piped the music in the office, and it was a very easy, smooth kind of a vibe.
Were you a DJ, or did you work you said marketing?
Yeah, I worked in the marketing department, and every now and then if they needed a voice, especially for the holidays, for extra voices, piping in, happy holidays or whatever, and I get to do that. But all in all, I worked in the marketing side of it, publicity side.
Oh, okay. You also were in the movie Steve Jobs?
Yes.
Okay, now I get confused because there's a film out called Jobs, and then there's a film out called Steve Jobs. Was this the one with Ashton Kutcher?
Oh, no. This is the film afterwards, directed by Danny Boyle.
Okay.
So there was Michael Fassbender, who played Steve Jobs. There was Jeff Daniels. He was in it, and I actually played opposite of him in our scene.
Oh,
so
okay.
That was very exciting. My first Hollywood movie.
Okay, so who was Jeff Daniels in that movie? It's been a long time. I don't remember exactly. Well, who was his character in that?
Oh, he played... oh my gosh, the name actually just escaped me. But he played... I know, it's been a while now. But he played the friend of Steve Jobs, and I believe they were partners in the very beginning. And then they had a dispute or a conflict, and they parted ways. And, oh gosh, I can't remember it, but it started with an S.
Was he the financial guy? Was he the original financial backer for Apple Computer?
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
He was.
Okay, because in the other film, the Ashton Kutcher one, that was played by, what's his name? McNamara, I think was the actor's name. And, right, he was the one who came to Steve Jobs' father's garage when Apple Computer was working out of there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
and go figure. I mean, genius happens in garages.
It always does.
Yeah.
It always does.
Yeah.
And
it does.
Right, and he was the guy who took the chance and wrote them the big check and got them going. And right, okay. All right, so that was Jeff Daniels' character in Steve Jobs film, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and you played his assistant?
Well, no, actually, that was all filmed in San Francisco. And it was filmed at the airport. It was a night scene. And I was the airline concierge.
Oh.
And
okay.
airline concierge. And I brought the news over to Jeff Daniels, and I forgot his name now, and to let him know that he had a call waiting for him. And basically, it was the call that he had before he was to meet with Steve Jobs. And it was a very crucial moment. That was before, I think that started the ball rolling and him thinking about what he was going to say to him when he met him. And that's when they had their argument and all that. And, that was the conflict that they parted ways.
Oh, okay. Well, your role was pretty crucial then, yeah?
Yeah. It was exciting. And it was amazing. It was an incredible experience with Danny Boyle. He's an amazing director. And also with Jeff Daniels.
I like Jeff Daniels.
Privilege.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. He's great. He's amazing. One of those intense, wonderful actors.
So after that, now you created and wrote and produced 8-episode series called Sophie. And I'll just read this blip off here. A coming-of-age story about a newly divorced woman who begins her life in L.A. whilst navigating unexpected stay of her mother and the choppy waters of singlehood. Already it sounds like something I want to see, because the idea that you divorce and then your mother moves in. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's funny how that in itself evokes laughter, and I think it just probably brings up a whole lot of thoughts, ideas for people. And she is your typical tiger mom, as they say. In Chinese, it's known as a tiger mom, but I think it's cross-cultural, and she could be like a Jewish mom or a Greek mom or Italian mom or whatever,
or anyone's mom, actually.
Anyone's mother, really. And so when I created this story, and I am Sophie, obviously people would think, oh, this is a story of a Asian American woman and who gets divorced and starts her new life in La La Land or LA. And what I really wanted it to be is to be something that everyone cross-culturally and of various ages to identify with, because it speaks about, there's layers to this comedic series. And you could watch it again and again and then find the different layers, one being relationships, the mother-daughter relationships, or men and woman relationships. It goes to show how this woman who's been married for 20 years and in many ways lived in a bubble and quite naive and hasn't dated and all that. And then she gets thrown into the single life, and of all places, L.A., and it's like a jungle. And she is just overwhelmed and amazed by this scene of what it's like, what does it mean to date in 2021, And she basically, the other thing is that when she married, she was a virgin. So obviously she didn't have much experience even prior to her marriage. And she did go out, but she was a virgin, and it was because of her beliefs, whether it be, her faith, spirituality, or culturally, or whatever. And now she is free, and she's trying to navigate what is her new life like. And simultaneously, who is she? What's her voice? She has lived her life under the expectations culturally and societal, and she's finally discovering herself. And so it's really about the struggles. Another layer would be the struggles of tradition and expectations placed on her, struggles of identity, one's identity, struggles with propriety, struggles with what does she want when everybody else around her, all these voices are swirling around her, her best friend telling her what to do. And so I really want to make a story that a lot of people can identify with, men and women of all ages. So I think I pretty much created such from the feedback I've been getting from others. I think the timing is quite apropos.
Let me ask you something about Sophie's character. So Sophie is an Asian American woman. Is her mother from the old country?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she is. So Sophie, yes, that's a good point. So Sophie is first generation.
First generation American,
She's,
right.
Yeah, ABC. She's an ABC, or American-born Chinese.
Oh, okay. And the mother is an immigrant from China who grew up in China and came to the United States at some point in her adult life, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the other question then is, does Sophie and her mother communicate in English or in Chinese?
Well, another good question. Both.
Both.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah, both. So there is Mandarin speaking, which is the dialect that I also speak. And I wanted to find an actress who could also speak fluent Mandarin. And so she does speak Mandarin, and she also speaks English as well. And the other reason for me to create this is to show that not all Asians, not all Chinese would speak with an accent. I don't have a Chinese accent. Again, I'm born here, first generation. However, Sophie's mom may have an accent because she's not born here.
Right.
So there is, you could see the difference, and there are differences.
Well, it was interesting because when I was growing up, I had a friend who was first generation American Italian, and his family, his mother and his father, spoke no English, and they lived in Massachusetts where I grew up. We would go to his house. His parents would speak to him in Italian, and he would answer them in English, which I always thought was very funny. And
yeah,
I don't
I'm
know
laughing because that's
yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know if they understood a word he was saying, but I think he did that just to kind of piss them off, because it would always be, they would always be at him about something. Clean your room, go clean the yard, go do, you know what I mean? Something like that the kid didn't want to do, right? And he would always answer them in English, and then I would always say, what did she say? Because I didn't speak Italian. So it's just one of those memories I have. Yeah,
that's so funny. So would he translate it for you?
Yeah, he would tell me what she said, and it would always be something like "go clean your room" or go do something, some kind of chore that he just didn't want to do, and that was always it. So, and sometimes I could tell just by his response what she said. Like she would say something in Italian, and then he said, all right, I'll do it later. And, you knew it was something like that. But it's interesting because kids that are born in America to parents who were immigrant parents, they have that amazing ability because they start from infancy where both languages run in their head simultaneously. And, they're able just to switch back and forth as if it's just one language, which anybody who as an adult has tried to study and learn a foreign language knows that is a difficult thing to do. But for the kids, if you get them young enough, it just gets ingrained in there. And
Yes. So usually first generation children, they are still able to understand the language, and even speak it. Maybe not so fluently, but they definitely understand it because that's normally the first language that's spoken at home, especially between the parents.
Right.
Or whoever's there, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents. That's the other thing. I mean, you have generations together, and they're speaking their main dialect, basically, their main language. And so, the child does hear that, as I did. And it actually was my first language when I was quite young. And then as soon as I started school, kindergarten, I went straight to English, and then didn't really want to speak Chinese because I just wanted to, as a kid, just fit in and everything like that, and English was more cool and all that stuff. But so at home, my parents would still speak Chinese to us at times, but they were also educated here. They actually came here at a time when they had to take an exam to come into the U.S. There was a period of that, and they were part of that group where they had to pass, which was quite difficult. In fact, I think my mother, she had to take it twice in order to come into this country.
Oh,
and then, and they had to be sponsored. And then that's when they were able to then go to the college. But they had to be sponsored for sure. And they had to pass the test. So my dad went to a college in Washington, and my mother went to a college in the Midwest or somewhere. And, they were educated here. They went through college, and they met after college.
Oh, they met after college.
My mother would... What was that?
No, I just was wondering if they came over together, or they were already married, or they didn't know each other until okay.
No, they didn't know each other. No, their dream was to come over to here, to the U.S. because of the opportunities, and they wanted to study here.
I'm sorry, did they come from mainland China or from Taiwan?
Oh, okay. So I have a very rich history on my mother's side. And they originally were from China, mainland China, and then they moved over to Taiwan. And my mother felt she was part of the generation moving from China to Taiwan when she was quite young. And she never really felt that Taiwan was her home. Because of the fact that they had to leave China very quickly. So she wanted to, when she was a teenager, come to the U.S. And she's, U.S. is always known as land of plenty, land of opportunities. Her parents encouraged her to do so.
So was that at the time...
So she came over.
I don't know exactly how old... you are, or your mother would be, but was that at the time of the Mao Revolution that she had to leave China?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And I don't really want to go into the political aspects of it.
No, I don't either.
But, let's not go into there. But, my mother's family, let's just say, they had to leave, and they were given the opportunity, and they took it. They had to at that point, because if they didn't, my mother probably wouldn't be around, let's just say. It was a situation where they knew they had to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my dad, pretty much the same with his family, and they had to leave too.
Okay.
And I believe my dad did go to Taiwan, but they didn't know each other then. And they met in the U.S.
Okay. Well, we've got just a couple of minutes left, and I want to go back to Sophie. The mother moves. Why does the mother move? I don't want to give the whole show away, but okay, so Sophie gets divorced. She moves to L.A. Why does her mother suddenly move in with her?
Oh, well, it shows in the first episode when she shows up on Sophie's doorstep that she just needed a break. She's been living with her son, and that's a very normal thing when the Chinese mom wants to move in with her son. And she's just going crazy because the son's wife, her daughter-in-law, is a control freak. And it's funny because she's a control freak. And, when you have two women in the house.
Like magnets.
Control freak.
Yeah.
Yes. And she just needed a break. She was like, oh, I just need to get out of here and I'll go visit my daughter. And that's how it happens.
Okay. This sounds like a great story and a great series. Is it out and available now, or is it just in production, or where is it?
It will be. Oh, it's completed. That's thanks to COVID. Whenever that was something that I was able to do, and my post-production team did. They really worked on it hard. I just want to give a shout out to my production team and my post-production team, who it was a labor of love, let's just say, and hard work, lots of hard work, and their belief in it. And so it was finished. It's got completed April, and it's already been picked up. So I'm really excited. It's going to be on Amazon Prime and on another streaming channel called Asian American Movies.
Oh, okay.
And which curates a lot of fine Asian movies, shorts, narratives. You have all kinds, comedies, thrillers, drama. It's really quite an amazing channel, and that is created by writer and producer Quentin Lee, another Lee.
Another Lee, okay.
We're not related, but Lee's a very popular name. It's exciting. And then we'll see. I'm now in the marketing promotion stage and just trying to get it out there. But, everyone I've talked to who's in the industry says the timing is just so apropos. They love the story. They think it's really funny. It's really quirky. It's comedic. And it addresses heart issues that a lot of people can relate to. And I'm really excited about it.
Well, that's great. So do you have a website link for the show, or so people can come and check it out?
Actually, I don't. And that was something I chose not to do. Because there's just so much of that out there. What I want to do actually is just promote it, have other people promote it, and I'll just get the word out there somehow that it will be out once it comes out. Most likely will be next month, June, when my series comes out on Amazon Prime. That's what we're working on right now. Okay. And one other word I do need to say is that the one suggestion that was given to me was perhaps change the title, Sophie, because if you look on IMDb, which lists, everyone in the entertainment industry is just listed there with their work and the shows, and everyone knows you have to go on there. There's a lot of Sophies. And there's like over 40 shows, like TV series, shorts, movies, dramas, And when I wrote the story and titled it, I didn't realize how many Sophies there are out there. So that is something.
Okay. That could be a problem.
Someone just came up to me. Yeah, that may be a problem, because I was talking to someone in the entertainment industry, and when I mentioned Sophie, he goes, "Oh yeah, I heard about it." And I said, "Well, what did you hear about?" He goes, "Well, I know I've heard it. The name sounds so familiar." And then, which can be good and bad in some ways. But, in order to have my story stand out, because it's going to be different, I might have to change the title.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So I'm thinking about that. Maybe you have some ideas, but
well, I have some ideas of what not to name it. Don't name it Sophie's Choice, and
right. Yeah, that would have been a good one, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the good ones are taken, or Sophie and La La Land. But La La Land's taken, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. That's a hard one.
Yeah. We do have to wrap this up. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. So thank you so much for coming on this show. This was a lot of fun talking to you. And
oh, of course.
I'm dying to watch this
because
this sounds like a great, funny show. So I definitely am going to be keeping tabs on it. Looking forward to it coming out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Douglas Coleman's Don't Do a Podcast is a dryly humorous rant about Douglas's pet peeve, the unrelenting torrent of podcasts hitting the web on a constant basis. As technology has put podcasting within the reach of anyone, many wholly unqualified people have taken the plunge. This witty polemic tries to persuade them from broadcasting their drivel using Douglas's brand of sarcastic humor. Now on Amazon, only 99 cents.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Love coffee, huh? But wait a minute. It seems like every time you finish a cup of coffee, you get all of these side effects along with it. Heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, acid reflux. As the world's first and only organic acid-free coffee, Tyler's Coffee is able to provide a healthier option in the solution for more than 100 million individuals who have sensitive stomachs or suffer from acid-related modalities. This is Tyler's acid-free coffee. Coffee without the consequences.
Hello, this is Monique Nicole, and you're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show, and this is my single, Red Bottoms and Lingerie, featuring Little Flip.
You about to get everything you want. Classy, ratchet, nasty. You about to get everything you want. Classy, ratchet.
Boy, look at these hips. I put them on for you. Look at these hips. How was your day? About to get better. Know you've been working all day, making that cheddar. Sit back, relax, boy. Look at this ass, boy. Tonight ain't no coulda, no shoulda. You get it, just what you asked for. Classic, ratchet, nasty. I could be anything you want me to.
Long weave on my real hair, I'm throwing it.
Boy, I got them red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Got red bottoms, got red bottoms, got red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Got red bottoms, got red bottoms, got.
I got red bottoms, these are bloody shoes.
Boy, come in the door. Take off them boots and them work pants. Put them on the floor. Cause I got a trick for you, baby. It's gonna make you wanna pay me. Cause I got that drippin' picky tickets, make you wanna keep me driving crazy. Tonight I'm serving you every need, I'm gonna cater. If you like it ratchet, I could do it like I'm from Decatur. Classy, ratchet, nasty. I can be anything you want me to. Boy, I got them red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Got red bottoms, got red bottoms, got red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Red bottoms and lingerie. Got red bottoms, got red bottoms, got.
I got red bottoms, these are bloody shoes.
As soon as I leave the studio, I'ma come put it right on you. When you walk around in them heels, you killing them, girl, like pneumonia. You love the way I make you feel. I'm rocking my Rollie Daytona. I come from the land of the trill. Not even E.T. could phone you. Girl, you gotta put your back in it. My pockets got 100 racks in it. My bedroom got plaques in it. I break headboards, I'm shacking. You should come roll with a dun. Let's roll in my dun. I see you rolling your tongue. Look, baby, you know I'm the one. I turn to the front and put your hair up in the bun. I'm gon' put my love on you. I got red bottoms, this be bloody shoes. Pull up in the coupe, I'ma put this love on you.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Monique Nicole. Hi, Monique. How are you?
Hi, Douglas. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. You and I
Thank you for having me.
have a very similar backstory. I got a kick out of it when I was reading it because I am a musician as well, and I started out in New York City, and I stopped because of basically a lack of support from my mother, who thought that it was not a real job to be pursuing, that I needed to go work in a corporation with a pension fund and health insurance and all that kind of stuff. So I always think that's funny, but I think that that's a story that's common with a lot of people. What do you think?
I think it is. Depending on when your parents were coming up, music was not deemed a profession. It was a hobby.
Right.
So, my parents felt it was a hobby, especially with my dad, who also was a fireman, a lieutenant on the fire department, and he was also a singer. He was a musician, and he had some tough breaks, and he didn't really want me to have to go through that as well. But he also had stable employment that he was able to feed his family at the same time. So, that's what they wanted for me as well.
So
at the time,
go ahead.
I didn't really agree with it, but it's you do what your parents say.
Well, that's true, and I did, and then 20 years after that, I came back to it. But I came back to it, during that time, the internet came along and flipped the music industry upside down. So when I was doing it as 18, 19, it was the traditional, there was no internet. So it was you went, you played in little clubs, you hoped that a record label might get interested in you to make a record. It was very like it had been since the 1950s. But when the internet came along, it was a whole new world. And at 43 years old, I had to learn it all over again. So it was interesting. So what do you, let's see, what are you doing currently with music? Are you primarily a singer, or are you doing production, or all of it, or what?
I'm primarily a singer.
Okay.
I do collaborate production-wise as to what I want, when we're building a song together, depending on who I'm working with. And sometimes there's songs that are submitted to me, and, it's great already, so it doesn't need my input. So it just depends on the situation.
Do you have children?
I do. I have two.
Are they young?
A boy and a girl. 16 and 14.
Oh, not that young. Okay. So do any of them show interest in the music industry?
Yes. My daughter actually wants to pursue it full time. So we're having history repeat itself.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. Yeah, okay.
She's a singer and a songwriter, and She's really like good. She sight reads and stuff. She's a little bit more advanced on the theory side than I am. You know, I know my notes and stuff, but she, you know, I had her in lessons very early. So she knows the theory, and she's been singing in a choir for years, and now she wants to start a rock band. They're into different types of music, you know, than what I perform. They don't really care for R&B and jazz so much. Well, my son does. My daughter doesn't. So that's what she's looking to do full time once she finishes high school. She's graduating high school a year early, so she's graduating this month. And you know, and I'm having the same talk that my parents had with her, and I'm like, it's fine, I'll support you, but you have to get your education, and you have to have something solid within the art, you know. So it's like, okay, you could take music in school, you know, or she sketches and paints, and so does my son. Both very artistic that way, and you could get a minor in education, but you're gonna have to have something solid to fall back on. So I'm teaching my children the same thing, because now, you know, of course, hindsight is 20/20. As I'm sitting here and I have a great pension and benefits for the rest of my life because of my upbringing with my parents, and I don't want my kids to be home forever living off of me. So they you got to do something. You got to pull your weight. You know, the music industry is a tough industry, as you know, as a musician. Yeah. And you just have to have something solid. Now, as for my son, my 14-year-old, he is a jazz musician. He plays the tenor saxophone.
Oh, nice.
And he started on the alto. He's in 2 different bands, and he absolutely loves it. And he's also a painter and a sketch artist and doing his graphic arts as well. You know, I don't know what direction he's going to go in. I know he wanted to go into law at one time, but I think now he's leaning more into programming and, you know, bridging the arts and the sciences together. So, you know, we'll have to see.
Well, it's funny that history does come around. It is. It's very funny. Now, I'm looking at your pictures here. You were a firefighter?
No, actually, I was a detective sergeant.
Oh, this is police uniform. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. So
well, the dress uniforms across the different municipalities are pretty much the same, so that's easy to mistake, because it's a dress uniform that I have on.
Right. And you said your father was a firefighter, so I thought you might have been following in his footsteps. But okay. All right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that was your career job, and you've retired from that at this point? Yeah.
I have, yes, as of April 22nd this year.
Okay. So now you're back to your music. Were you doing any music during that time? Because I wasn't. I wrote like 2 songs in 20 years. And when I...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah? Were you still pursuing it?
Oh, yeah. I've been, I dropped my first single back in 2015, which was Say Yes, and that was the one. I got lucky, actually, that got commercial airplay all over in all the states. Yeah. I see you're based in Las Vegas. They was playing my music there too, and you know, here in New York on WBLS, and then it spread around the world. So that the first time out the gate, I got lucky, and then I had some follow-up singles, and you know, a lot of performances all over the place, opening for all kinds of artists. So I've been working at it, and then behind the scenes, you know, for over 20 years, I was doing artist management and content promoter, and so I always owned a studio. Like, although I worked my career, I always worked music. I always had a music company where I was working more of a supportive role, and then, you know, I had to turn the tables around and start to invest in myself as an artist in 2015. So I still kept singing, and, you know, decided to hit the stage at that point, and I haven't stopped since. So yeah, I have a pretty big catalog out there for that short period of time.
Oh, well, that's great. Because when I was working in the corporate environment, it just completely stifled my creative side. And I couldn't flip back and forth in my brain between doing the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain. It just didn't work for me. So music went on hold basically for 20 years.
That's a hard, very hard dynamic. And I so understand what you mean, because it's two total opposite sides of your brain.
Exactly.
And I find that when I'm, even now, and through the job and having to merge the two, it was like a switch, literally. Like, okay, business, I'm handling that, and I have to turn on the creative side. And sometimes it would take a while to click, to get myself in gear. And then once I got myself in gear, it was good. Then I have to shift down and go back into the business part of it. And I'm happy that I have gotten to the point where now I could focus on my music more, but I still have to keep the other side running, because I still, it's what we're dealing with, a pandemic right now, but everything is open up. So now it's time for me to start solidifying venues and start doing concerts again and booking, artists for it, and also putting myself on some of the bills and so on and so forth. So that then the other side of your brain is back to work. So, no matter what, being that I have my own label, I still have to make sure both sides are functioning. But it's not as bad when I had to also now be in charge of personnel or investigations and, be doing like that type of work where that kind of really saps your creative juices.
Oh, yeah.
So I definitely understand.
Well, and then the internet has created this DIY environment for musicians, which is great on one hand, but also now musicians have to handle all of that business side of the business, which typically back in the old days, you had a manager to take care of that. And I've found, and I don't know if you've found this to be true, but I've found that the more creative the music artist is, the less good they are at the business side. Like they just having a clue what to do, and they really need that manager to kind of take the business side over and negotiate any, performance contracts or whatever, so that they can concentrate on their craft, on their art.
That is so true, because I just got a manager like a year and a half ago. So I've been going through this music industry pretty much having to deal with the back end and the front end. And it's very difficult. It's really, really difficult. And now that I do have some help, but I'm still very hands-on, because I'm a little bit of I'm not a control freak, but I'm still very involved in what goes on, with myself. So, and like for any artist, you really need, I don't care how creative you are, you need to learn the business side, because you can't fully just put your entire life's work into somebody else's hands and not know what is due to you. You have to have some.
That's
some
a good point.
knowledge.
Yeah, because there's been many, many stories of bad management that have ripped off artists for decades. That's the age-old story in the music industry.
Exactly. And the only way that stops is that artists have to educate themselves.
Yeah, very true. Okay, well, Monique, we do have to wrap this up. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Do you have a website that you want to give out for your music, personal website, anything? People come check you out?
Absolutely. My website is Monique Nicole, MoniqueNikkole, music, common spelling.com. And you could just Google me, Monique Nicole, and that's Nikkole, and that will give you all of my links to my social media. I'm at Monique Nicole everywhere, Twitter, IG, Facebook.
All right. Very cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was nice talking to you. Nice meeting you. I love hearing stories of fellow musicians and especially when the parents get involved. That's always amusing to me.
Yes.
And now you're going through it with your own
was,
kids. Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much for having me, Douglas.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
To the mile, got to